I'm not going to touch Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Now we're going to get fraud out of there. You see where I talk about it all the time. We have people 250 years old and all, tremendous fraud. But that has nothing to do with that.
Can you guarantee that under any proposal, Medicaid would not be on the chopping block?
Look, Medicaid has never been on the chopping block. What we're talking about is finding the it's non-benefit related reforms to the program.
Can you guarantee that Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security will not be touched?
Yeah, I mean, I have said it so many times, you shouldn't be asking me that question.
Oh, and I'm actually glad that they keep asking the question. That way, when we do a segment like this, where we show you how they were lying, the montage to start off the clip is longer and thus juicier. So thank you to everybody who keeps asking Donald Trump and House Speaker Mike Johnson to lie over and over and over about what they're gonna do to Medicaid. Non-benefits related cuts. They seem to want to define it as the only way anything gets to qualify as a cut to Medicaid is if an individual person who in the future somehow still has Medicaid gets 30% less or something. If you don't get Medicaid anymore, what I would call a 100% cut to your Medicaid, that doesn't count according to those two major liars. And those, by the way, that group of people who get it right now and won't in the future could end up being a very large group, because Common Dreams has some great reporting on the accumulation of all of the different ways that they're planning to cut it, many of which we've covered before on the show, some of which are gonna be new to this segment. They're looking to cut as much as 8 million people off of Medicaid, lying to you at every step of the way that they're not gonna be cutting it at all. 8 million is a significant chunk of everybody who's on it right now will not be on it in the future. And it will be, I think, probably small comfort to them that it wasn't technically cut according to Mike Johnson. So the legislation they're working on, the big, beautiful bill, includes major changes to Medicaid that, if enacted, will indeed cut millions from the program. That includes work requirements from some enrollees, new payment mandates for adults living above 100% of the federal poverty limit. Again, that means if you make more than $15,500 a year, you could face major cuts or additional costs, or maybe be being booted off of the program entirely because you're living large at $16K a year. That's what these incredibly wealthy people have determined to be too much money to qualify. It also includes cost sharing requirements for certain expansion individuals under the Medicaid program. That means that you might still have access to Medicaid, but you'll be expected to pay for more of the co-pays, fines, fee, all that stuff. And again, you're only making $16K a year before taxes, so that is gonna hit really hard, but don't call it a cut. Also, they're talking about shifting more of the whatever remains of the funding for Medicaid onto the states, which is a massive cut in how much the federal government is gonna pay for it, because they know that many of the states are not going to either want to or be able to pick up that additional cost. When you take hundreds of billions of dollars and say, we're not paying for it anymore, we're gonna ask Tennessee, Mississippi, whatever to pay for it, they're just not gonna do that. They're, at the very least, they're not gonna pay for all of it, which is how you get to millions and millions of people being cut off of this. And at the same time, they say, we do all this stuff, okay? All these millions of different cuts that we're gonna do. And we could save $715 billion over the next decade. Now, maybe 8-9 million people don't have it anymore, but hey, we've saved $715 billion over 10 years. Okay, that's over 10 years, so that's $71 billion a year. Okay, so you don't make an omelet without scrambling some eggs, but hey, we saved $71 billion. I just wanna remind everyone, they're jacking up the military budget by more than twice that this year. So this doesn't even cover half of the extra spending on the military, and in return, 9 million people might have no health insurance whatsoever. But hey, at least Raytheon and Lockheed Martin have got some fat new government contracts, JR. I guess that'll make them feel better.
Not only that, but the folks who have been paying near their fair share of their taxes, that's the other part about where this is going. This is the same thing when he was talking about tariffs and everything else, all the money that's coming into the country. They never identify and let these folks know who are being bamboozled by them to think, how is that money coming back to you? So we're gonna cut all the waste, fraud, and abuse out of Medicare, Medicaid. We're gonna make sure we push it to the states. We're gonna kick all these millions of people off. We're gonna make sure that unless you're like below the poverty line, that you even have any level of access to this, and it's still including all the high prices for everything else, any kind of procedures or visits that you may have, all that out the window. And it's gonna come back how? Is there some kind of paycheck that then comes with it? Is there some kind of check you get in the mail because of it regularly as all this $715 billion comes back to who? Who does it come back to? Is part of this big, beautiful deal, this bill that you're putting together, have any kind of mechanisms that directs that money back to your wallet? Ask them if it is. Ask the next question for them to lie about. Since they lied about, they're not gonna be cutting your Medicare and your Medicaid. So after that goes down, ask them how it's coming back to all these regular people. Ask them.
Yeah. Again, like, and they'll say, hey, okay, so you don't have health insurance, but our military has a golden dome or whatever. Now you're safe, you're secure. No, if you're making $20,000 a year and you have no health insurance, you're not secure at all. Like literally at all, because I got news for you. Your health is far more likely to be assailed in a direct sense than, well, be invaded by Canada or whatever. Like they will put almost literally infinite funding into stopping non-existent, impossible, never gonna happen threats. But the stuff that actually kills Americans every day, whether it's guns in schools, diabetes, whatever, you're on your own, okay? Quite literally. And hey, what do you know? Because of the way they've decided to divvy up the money, their donors get gigantic contracts. Elon Musk makes billions and billions more coming out of this. But you lose health insurance. MAGA people living in Alabama and Florida and Texas or whatever don't have health insurance anymore. This is what they're voting for. And I say that not to mock them. I say that to express empathy for them because they're looking forward to some really hard times thanks to the guy they love more than anyone else.